You probably do it dozens of times a day without even thinking about it. Tapping, login. But behind that one simple button, there's this fascinating, invisible dance happening to keep your digital life safe. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and decode the secrets of a secure login.
Look, our journey is going to start with something simple, like a password, but you'll see how it builds into this really sophisticated multi-layered defense system. And honestly, it's never been more important. Because as we step into this new age where AI agents act for us, that simple question, is it really you, suddenly becomes the most critical question of all.
So, to really get why login security has become this whole elaborate fortress now, you've got to understand that the applications themselves have fundamentally changed. The rules of the game, they've been completely rewritten.
Think about how apps used to work. You were the one pulling all the strings, right? You'd click a button to pull the weather forecast or to play a song. But with conversational AI, that whole relationship is flipping on its head. Now you just state a goal, like book me a flight to Miami, and the AI pushes actions for you, calling all sorts of services to make it happen. I mean, it's a total flip of who's in charge.
And this quote just nails it, right? The AI is basically telling all of our services, hey, don't call me, I'll call you when I need to get something done. And well, when an AI agent can access your bank account or order your groceries, you better believe the system needs a rock-solid, ironclad way to prove that the agent acting as you is really you.
Okay, so with that new reality in mind, let's just strip this whole thing back to the absolute basics. Before we can trust an AI to book our flights, we have to solve the most fundamental problem there is. How does any application prove you are who you say you are?
This whole process is called authentication. And honestly, the best way to think of it is like the bouncer at a club. You show your ID, that's your username, and you whisper the secret password. If your name's on the list and the password checks out, you're in. That simple check is the very first line of defense protecting your stuff from, well, the entire world.
But that simple system, it has this huge, glaring, flashing red light of a vulnerability. Just storing a list of everyone's passwords as plain text is a recipe for total disaster. Let's dig into why.
This is the absolute nightmare scenario. I mean, if an app stores your password as plain text, a single data breach means the keys to everyone's digital kingdom are just out there. And this brings us to what is basically the #1 rule of modern security. You never, ever, ever store passwords directly.
So the solution is this really clever piece of one-way math called hashing. Seriously, think of it like creating a unique digital fingerprint for your password. The system doesn't store your actual password, it just stores that fingerprint. Then when you log in, it takes what you just typed, makes a new fingerprint, and just compares the two. And since you can't reverse engineer a fingerprint to get a person, a hacker who steals the database just gets a list of useless fingerprints, not your passwords.
All right, so hashing secures our passwords when they're stored. Problem solved, right? Well, not quite. We've just created a brand new problem, and it's all about user experience. I mean, could you imagine having to type your password for every single click, every page load? You'd go crazy, right? So applications need a way to remember that you're logged in. The solution is basically a temporary digital hall pass.
This digital hall pass has a fancy name, a JSON Web Token, or just JWT for short. So once you've successfully logged in, the server hands you this special, cryptographically signed token. From that moment on, every time you make a request, your browser just flashes this token. It's exactly like getting a wristband at a music festival. You don't have to pull out your ID every single time you want to go to a different stage.
But there's a catch, and it's a big one for security. That festival wristband, which we're going to call an access token, it has to expire, and usually pretty fast. You wouldn't want a lost token to give someone access to your account forever, right? So if it expires after, let's say, 15 minutes, does that mean we're right back to square one, forced to log in all over again?
No, the really smart solution here is to issue 2 different tokens when you log in. You get the short-lived access token. That's your 15-minute festival pass that you use for everything. But you also get a long-lived refresh token. Think of this like your full weekend membership card that you keep tucked away safely. When that 15-minute pass expires, your app can silently, in the background, use that membership card to get a brand new 15-minute pass, all without you ever noticing or having to do a thing.
So this 2-token system is really robust, and it keeps you logged in without all those constant interruptions. But it still relies on you creating and somehow remembering a unique password for every single app you use. So, what if we could just skip that step entirely? What if we could just delegate the whole trust thing?
You know that feeling, right?
that password fatigue? It's exactly the problem a protocol called OAuth 2 was designed to solve. It's the magic behind every single one of those login with Google or continue with Apple buttons you've ever clicked. It's a system built entirely on this idea of delegated trust.
The process itself is like this elegant, secure dance. You're basically telling a new app, look, I don't trust you with my password, but I do trust Google. So go ask them if I'm legit. You log in safely on Google's site, and Google passes back a temporary authorization code. And here's the absolute most critical part of this whole exchange. The new app never, ever sees your Google password. Not for a second.
So, look, we've gone on this whole journey, from a simple, vulnerable password all the way to this intricate, multi-layered system of hashes and tokens and delegated identity. So why does all this complexity matter so much, especially right now?
It matters because each one of these layers methodically plugs a critical security hole. Hashing protects your main secret even if a company gets breached. Those short-lived tokens dramatically shrink the window of opportunity for an attacker. And delegated identity gives us incredible convenience without forcing us to sacrifice our security. Together, they build a true, modern system of trust.
And that brings us right back to where we started. Remember that "don't call me, I'll call you" world? This entire security framework is what makes that world possible. It's the technology that ensures when an AI assistant says it's acting for you, we can actually believe it. This is the bedrock of trust that's going to let AI safely and seamlessly become part of our lives.
And that really is the big question for our future, isn't it? As we give AI the keys to book our travel, manage our money, and run our errands, our identity becomes the master key to this vast digital kingdom. So what's the next secret we're going to need to protect? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.